I know what you're thinking. I don't have time to homeschool. When kids go to school, they're in there from 9 in the morning till 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's 7 or more hours. I don't have 7 hours free to homeschool my kids. I don't have 7 hours free to homeschool my kids. You don't need 7 hours free to homeschool your kids. In fact, you don't even need half of that. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome everybody to another episode of the Raising Mums podcast. This is one of my shorter episodes that I do live on my Facebook page, Our Muslim Homeschool, every Wednesday. And so in this very short episode, I want to talk to you about why you don't need as much time to homeschool as you think you do. So let's think about that image that I set up there of a kid in school. He goes to school 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. He's there till 3 or 4 in the afternoon. That time that he has there in school, it is not constant learning. He's not sat focused at a desk that whole time. Remember that when they go to school, there are things like bells, walking from class to class, there's assemblies, there's the time it takes to hang up their bag or stand in a line and queue for things. Obviously, there are breaks as well throughout the day. Times to take registers, hand out pieces of paper, bring in pieces of paper, find a partner. There are so many time-consuming things that happen at school, which may or may not be necessary for the general management of that number of kids. You don't need to have any of that when you homeschool. When you homeschool your child, it's just you and them, one-on-one. So what that means is, not only do you have none of that time management, that classroom management things that take up your time, but it also means that because you're working one-on-one with your child, you get through the material much faster. When they are struggling with something, you can immediately pick up on that and find a way to explain it in a way that they get it. And so you can move on. Or if you find that they've got this, they understand what you're trying to teach them, you can then move on to something new, which means as a homeschooler, you move through the material so much faster than they do in schools. Now, most homeschoolers, rather than taking an entire day, like they would in school, to do schoolwork, you will get most of your work done in just a couple of hours, a couple of focused hours, usually in the morning, but you can actually put it at any time in the day that suits your family's routine. We get all of our schoolwork done between 9 and 12 o'clock for my 3 children, which means for the rest of the day, they are free, which also means I am free to do all the other things that we have to do as mums: cook, clean, manage an online business, do all the other things that need to get done, because those first 2 or 3 hours of the day are spent doing schoolwork, and it is focused schoolwork. Like I mentioned just now, the lessons are short. We don't need to spend 40 minutes on maths because one-on-one, we get so much more done. There's no time wasting things of handing sheets out and waiting for other kids to respond. You just work for a focused amount of time and the lessons are kept short, which means the school time is kept much shorter. What I also want to point out is that as your children get older, past the age of 8, 9, 10 years old, more and more of their work becomes independent of you. So while you might need to set things up and explain things a little bit at the beginning, after that, they can get on with most of their work themselves, especially for things like maths. But then slowly it progresses to all the other subjects. And so once again, your time is freed up. As they get older, yes, they'll have more subjects that they start doing. And yes, it does get a little bit harder, but they start to work independently more and more until they get to a point where they're doing everything independently. They have learned and developed that skill of learning how to learn themselves. They don't need the information to be spoon-fed to them by you. They are able to do the research themselves and figure things out themselves. But you are always there if they need some support and some guidance. And I touched upon this as well. You can fit homeschooling into your lifestyle, to your family's lifestyle. For us, we put it in the morning. But I know families who get as much homeschooling done as they can first thing in the morning. Straight after Fajr prayer, they get their work done so that after the toddler wakes up, they don't have to worry about being distracted. They get that focused work done early in the morning, and then they have the rest of the day to do group activities or more relaxed schoolwork, or just have free time. I know families who do it after dad gets back from work, so dad can have an input. So you can fit this in wherever you like. If you like to travel, if you want to go for Hajj this year, if you want to take Ramadan off, homeschooling gives you that flexibility that your child just wouldn't get if they're in mainstream education. So I hope that this has helped you to see that, yes, school is from 9 to 4, 9 to 3, but your homeschooling does not need to be. And a piece of advice before we end here, those families who try to replicate school at home and have lessons that are 40 minutes long and have their school day running from 9 to 3 or 9 to 4, those are the families that really struggle, and almost inevitably all of them give up. You don't need to replicate school in your home to give your children a good education. What works in school, and what works in home is often very, very different. And I'll talk about that perhaps another day. But for this episode of Raising Mums, I just want you to realize that homeschooling doesn't take nearly as much time as you might imagine. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I just want to mention that I do have an online homeschooling course that is opening its doors to new students beginning 5th of July, so not long now. If you might be interested in that, you need to go to launchyourhomeschool.com and pop your name down there on the wait list, and more information will be sent to you nearer the time. This is a course to help you start homeschooling your children. I will take you by the hand and guide you step by step as to how to actually do this. How do you choose the right resources for your children? How do you create a curriculum that gives them an incredible education and aligns with your values? I'm going to teach you about time management and how to get everything done in the day that you need to get done, as well as homeschooling your children. And we have a great online community. We have a book club for mums who want to learn more about homeschooling, and we go through various homeschooling books in that book club. We've got a lot going. So if any of that sounds of interest to you and you want to learn more, go to launchyourhomeschool.com and pop your name down there, and I will email you more information. So I hope you'll join me again next Wednesday for another very, very short episode of the Raising Mums podcast. I also do longer episodes of the Raising Mums podcast every Sunday on Facebook and on Instagram, and I hope that you'll join me there. I try to make time for questions in those sessions as well. Well, thank you for joining me here today. I hope you have a beautiful day. Assalamu alaikum.